Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wekiva High School welcomes you once again to Mustang Arena for varsity basketball competition. Please welcome our guests from Olympia High School. They are the Titans. And they'll be taking on your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Before we begin our game this evening, we ask that you please stand as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem. And now let's meet the teams. We'll begin with our guests from Olympia. And we'll start at guard with 5'11" sophomore number 2, E.J. Jizzle James. At shooting guard and forward, 6'4" senior number 3, Tyree Bryan. At guard, 6'3" senior, number 11, Jakari White. At forward, 6'4" sophomore, number 21, Kevins Charles. And finally, for the Titans, at guard, junior number 23, Josh Mayo. The head coach of the Titans, Rob Gordon, and assistant coach, Sean Wells. And now, let's meet the starting lineup for your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Starting at power forward, 6'5" sophomore, number 24, Isaiah Bannister Doucette. At point guard, 6' junior, number 3, Jamari Kevin. At shooting guard, 6'4" senior, number 1, Donovan Stokes. At power forward, 6'3" senior, number 12, Nikhil Edward. And finally for the Mustangs, at shooting guard, 6'2" senior, number 10, Isaiah Lester. Mustangs are coached by Mr. Gersino Lubin with Charles Hardy and Dwayne Howard. The officials for tonight's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. We thank them for their dedicated service to our high school athletic programs and join them along with our participating schools, reminding everyone to make great sportsmanship a part of this and every athletic competition. For those of you here in the arena, please make sure you let your friends and family back home know that we are live streaming tonight's game on YouTube and the NFHS Network. Just search for Wekiva Sports on YouTube or for either school on the NFHS Network, and you can tune in from anywhere in the world. And a warm welcome for those of you who are already watching us online on YouTube or the NFHS Network. My name is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, joined by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, and ready to take you through tonight's varsity contest.
Yeah, thanks again, Mark. And as always, it's good to have you back here in location at Mustang Gymnasium. As we get the tray, no good from Laster, and Olympia will come on the offense. Of course, Mark missed last week due to COVID protocols.
Now, first time in 14 years that I've missed a full week of basketball action and soccer as well, but here we'll have a charge called against number 2, E.J. James, his first, the team's first.
So Wekiva comes into this game a 6-8 record. They were actually 6-5 at the end of the 2020 calendar year. Unfortunately, they've lost 3 consecutive games to start this calendar year. They lost to Edgewater 55-47, Ocala Forest 38-35, and then they just did not play well, to put it mildly, against Dr. Phillips 64-32. Olympia, on the other hand, comes in 10-4 under Rob Gordon, who has certainly turned this program around. They had about a 5-year lull where they finished under 500, and now they are at 10-4, looking to increase that record and further solidify their positioning to get into the FHSAA postseason tournament. We are coming live to you from Mustang Gymnasium.
And so far we haven't seen any offensive production on either side. We've had a couple of missed field goals. We've had some scuffles, but both of these teams trying to settle in right now.
Yeah, and if you did miss Mark introducing the starting lineups for Wekiva, number 1 Stokes, number 3 Hammond, number 12 Edward, number 10 Laster, number 24 Bannister Doucette.
A three-point basket from Jizzle James to open up scoring for the Titans.
Yeah, as we get our first points of the game, Django dropping the tray. And along with Jizzy James, Olympia starts Tyree Byron at the small forward position, Jakari White, Kevins Charles at the forward, and Josh Meal at the guard. And again, thank you for tuning in as we are now under 6 minutes in the first quarter remaining here from Mustang Gymnasium.
Now, before we get too far into the broadcast, I do want to acknowledge the very sad passing of Coach Earl Graham, who was part of the early legacy of the Mustang athletic program here at Wekiva, and is presently or was presently coaching at Apopka. Devastating loss to them. We want to extend our sympathies and our best wishes to them in this time of difficulty. We'll talk a little bit more about that at halftime.
Yeah, and just real quick again, because we're here to broadcast, but I know he was a friend to many, many people, and certainly I include myself among that list. As you mentioned, it's a very devastating loss to Apopka specifically, but the entire high school basketball and athletic community.
Foul is called against Mustangs number 12, Nikhil Edward, his first personal foul, the team's first. That will send Josh Mayo to the line to shoot 2.
And again, we'll talk more at halftime about Coach Graham, but in closing and before we move back to the game, Mark, he was a great coach. I learned a lot about basketball from watching him as a coach for those first 7 years that he was an assistant here, but even more so, I will miss him as a person and as a friend.
Both free throws good. So Olympia has everything except a traditional 2-point field goal in the book so far. They've got 2 free throws and a tray. Mustangs still looking to get on the board. It's still early yet, though. Not quite 3 minutes into the first period. To the corner. Nothing there. We'll go all the way back to Stokes. Stokes dances his way toward the paint, then dumps it off to Hammond. He's got it. Stokes to Hammond for 3.
Drain the rain for Hammond from the right wing. That cuts the lead to 5-3. And, of course, we come to this varsity game after JV. Olympia won with an impressive 20-plus point victory. Olympia unable to drop that deuce, and Hammond will bring it up the other way for Wekiva. Wekiva in the white uniforms, wearing the maroon numbers. Traditional home outfit for them. Olympia going with a bit of a different look this year. They're in the light blue, greenish uniforms.
Yeah, that teal color is something they introduced several years ago, because I remember when I first started announcing at Wekiva, Olympia was strictly black and white.
Right.
They were monochrome color scheme, which was kind of unique for Orange County, and they decided several years ago, you know what, we want a splash of color, and so they chose teal. So they added that to their color scheme. They've been using it for the last several years, and then they've been making it a bigger part. Obviously, very bold choice with the uniforms here as Hammond misses, and the rebound goes to Mayo.
That keeps the score at 5-3, 4 minutes expired. This is White kicking the ball out. And stop, pop, no good. Some heavy work underneath there by the Olympia interior offense. They still do not come up with any points. And we will come down the other way with Wekiva in possession of the ball. Again, wearing those white uniforms. Much more basic color scheme. And from the corner, Edward unable to drop the tray, and Olympia doing work under the boards. Brian with the dribble, hands it off on the left wing, and stop, pop, and drop again for James.
E.J. James adds 2 for the Titans.
So James now with 5 points.
Yeah, he's got the tray and the 2.
Yeah, 5
Both
of the
jumpers.
7 points. And certainly here in the early going, he has carried the team as far as the scoring. And Hammond returns the favor. Answer from the tray.
So Marek Hammond from downtown.
And just as James has carried Olympia scoring-wise, Hammond has done the same for Wekiva as we now draw our foul.
Mustang foul is called against number 3, Abia Charles. That's his first personal foul.
And so White will go to the board, to the free throw line, looking for his first points of the game.
Shakari White at the free throw line, checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 15, Kerry Davis.
7-6 is the score. Olympia has led from start to finish. And this is Jakari White at the free throw line. Shoots up his second free throw. This one, no problems. And Olympia is 3 of 4 from the line. They've gotten 4 free throws only 5 minutes into this ball game. They have an 8-6 lead, and they are going man-to-man full court. Hammond with possession of the ball. That's Wekiva wearing the white. Along the left sideline, he'll set the offense and then dribble it off. Hands it to Charles. Down to Doucette Bannister. And that is...
Jumper not there for Davis. Rebound goes to Josh Mayo. Nothing there in transition. Mustangs will set up their set.
You mean Olympia?
Yes.
And again, another tray. Bryan unable to get the roll. Kicks off the back of the heel. And now Wekiva coming up the other way with Hammond carrying the dribble. And so Olympia, this varsity team, much like the JV team, actually exactly like it, they like to get into transition. They're looking to move quickly. Wekiva is a fast-moving team, but to be honest, they look a couple steps slower, at least in terms of the pace that they want to set.
Foul is called against number 3, Tyree Bryan. That's his first personal foul with team second. That is going to send Kerry Davis to the line, shooting 2 for the Mustangs.
So Davis will be taking the first two free throws of the game for Wekiva. 1:58 remaining in the first quarter. 8-6 is the lead being held by Olympia. Olympia has led from start to finish. And since we were tied at 0-0, Davis and Wekiva now have an opportunity to tie the score. As Isaiah Laster comes back in. And Davis, no problems, nothing but net. We are tied at 8-8. 1:58 remaining. Neil Fisher, Mark Barchi, live from Mustang Gymnasium, home of Wekiva, underneath the trio of stampeding horses on that far wall. And Wekiva's going to...
Yeah, they're going to deflect the ball out of bounds.
Okay.
Won't be able to get the turnover there, but it's some good work in the paint. Checking into the game for Olympia, number 11, Jakari White. And for the Mustangs, number 21, Rogi Jacatine.
And I know, of course, you can't see me, why I'm saying this, but Mark, I really like White's hairstyle as we get a turnover.
And the official goes down and gets back up. He looks okay. He's learned how to roll a couple of times, I can tell.
So Davis taking advantage of a weak pass and immediately attacking that rim. We now have 1:42 remaining.
Foul is called against number 11, Jakari White. That's his first personal foul. The team's third at the line shooting is Kerry Davis.
And so I was saying, Mark, even though White did draw the foul this time, like his hairstyle. As Davis drops the first of 2 attempts, and Wekiva is in the lead for the first time tonight, 9-8, 1:42 remaining. So second free throw is good. Lead is now up to 10-8. And Wekiva now scoring 6 consecutive points as we get into the closing stretches of the first quarter. White with the dribble, up high on the right, double team. And yes, the result is a turnover, stepping out of bounds, or traveling.
Traveling is called on the Titans. Mustangs ball. And again, you don't get official credit for a steal for doing that, but it's essentially the same result. And a good hustle play there at half court by the Mustangs. Here comes Davis. He's been excellent at the charity stripe tonight, earning those free throws and then making them.
Yeah, Davis 4 of 4. He's taken all 4 attempts under the Wekiva banner. Wekiva in the white uniforms with the maroon numbers. Their traditional home outfits. And they have possession of the ball. This is Stokes. He's going to set up the offense. 1:15 remaining in the first quarter. He dribbles to his left and draws the foul.
Hand check is called against number 2, E.J. James. That's his second personal foul. The team's fourth.
So James probably out thinking the room there, trying to anticipate.
Dennis Warner and Jalen Adams in.
And this is Laster, extended right. And he's going to drive, kick over to the left. Davis with the drive along the baseline, and someone swapped that from behind. And Bryan brings it up the other side for Olympia. They rotate to the right, now down to the corner with White. White, a fake, now drives, stops, passing back out. We're under 1 minute, actually under 50 seconds.
Bryan takes it himself, got it. Tyree Bryan on the jumper for 2.
Stop, pop, and drop for Bryan, and we are tied at 10-all. 30 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Stokes clears out off White, now passes, gets the ball back on the right wing extended. He's going to drive the baseline, kicks out to Davis. The two-man game does not result in points as it's short. And Byron looking for some contact. And with 18.8 seconds remaining.
And that is going to be a turnover.
There was
out of bounds, Mustangs ball.
There was contact, but not resulting in the way that Bryan was desiring.
Jamarick Hammond back into the game for Wekiva.
So Hammond, the point guard, checks back in. And, of course, this is an obvious decision. The obvious reason that Coach Lubin has put Jamarick Hammond back in is for ball handling.
Charles also comes back in during the break.
Don't want to give Olympia an easy bucket here in the last 15 seconds.
Mustangs are trying to avoid a 10-second call, getting double-teamed, and foul happens. Foul is called against number 5, Dennis Warner. That's his first personal foul. The team's fifth.
And
so Mustangs narrowly escaped that one. If Olympia had handled that just a little cleaner, that would have been an almost certain turnover.
Yeah, well, Bannister Doucette charged at the very last second, and that was really the reason why Olympia didn't get the right angle. In the meantime, 5 seconds left. Hammond at the top. He's going to drive and can't get the bank. And so the first half will end. A lot of excitement, but no points. 10-10.
That takes us to the end of the first quarter, and it is a new ball game, no closer to deciding a victor in this varsity contest than we were 8 minutes ago. 10-10 is the score at the end of the first quarter. We'll be back. The Titans have the opening possession of the second quarter. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi here with Neil Fisher for some January basketball action. Short jumper's not there for Warner, and the rebound ultimately goes to Stokes to get things started for the second quarter.
Score remains 10-10. Neil Fisher, Mark Barchi. Again, we are bringing you action live from Mustang Gymnasium underneath the trio of stampeding horses on that far wall. Again, thank you for joining us tonight on the Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network. We are certainly happy and very proud to be able to, in these what's been termed many times strange times, the action so you can keep up with Mustang athletics. As so far, neither team has ended either of their possessions in this second quarter with a bucket, any points. And this is White with the dribble, the quick, long outlet pass. Don't have to worry about the 10-second call with that pass. Down to the corner with Bryant, short, tipped, and Hammond will come up with the ball again. He's going to set the offense on the other end for Wekiva. Laster taking a page out of Bryant's book with the same shot. Bannister Doucette doing some work under the boards. Still no basket, but Laster still no basket. 3 opportunities, and Wekiva, some good offensive rebounding, but can't get the bucket. And so White on the other end here for Olympia. He'll settle down his team. They got good rotation passing at the perimeter. On the left wing. At the key, look to White, no pass. Bryan again taking the ball. At the top, on the left wing, Adams. He'll take it back. The tray.
Oh, that's wide left and an air ball. Mustangs will pick up a defensive rebound for the team here.
So again, Wekiva comes into this game on a 3-game losing streak, and they need to get a victory tonight. Obviously, in the tangible sense, you don't want 3 losses to become 4, but just to gain some momentum and confidence at this point in the season, you really don't. They've had an up-and-down season, which was expected, and you don't want to get a lot of downs without those ups. A lot of downs turn into all downs.
Isaiah Laster fights his way to the bucket for 2.
And so Laster gives Wekiva a 12-10 lead. Olympia. And this is White, and yes, he gets the roll.
Jakari White adds 2 for the Titans, and I think the rim must have owed him a favor there.
Yeah, we're tied at 12 all at Mustang Gymnasium. And, boy, somebody got their hand on that dribble, and Olympia comes back the other way. They're going to slow down the pace a little bit here in terms of being a little bit more deliberate in their attack.
Kind of a wild shot there. Laster picks up the rebound. So the Mustangs escape that turnover with no points scored against them.
And looking at the stats real quick, Olympia certainly, actually Olympia, the story, excuse me, was Olympia did not shoot as much as Wekiva, but they held the lead through most of that first quarter because they shot the ball better. They were 3 of 7 for 43%. Wekiva 2 of 9 for 22%. Pretty much all the only other stat that
Jakari White picks up 2 for the Titans.
The only other stat that was a clear advantage one way or the other was rebounds. 7 for Olympia, 3 for Wekiva. So Olympia wearing the teal greenish uniforms with the black numbers on a back in the lead, 14-12, 4.5 minutes before halftime. Hammond guarding White, White with the long pass, and Bannister Doucette picks up the loose ball and will come the other way with Hammond setting the offense. Wekiva with possession. And over to Charles, couple dribbles, and he's tied up. Ball touched immediately by the Olympia defense. Ball will remain in Wekiva possession. Olympia coming in at 10-4. Something of a turnaround year for them. Had a number of 4 or 5 years where they did not finish under 500. Rob Gordon has had the program moving in the right direction the last couple of seasons. And certainly at 10-4, this is another step for them, as the tray from Dave Laster is no-go. White brings the ball down after the rebound. And before that pass, a foul. There was contact inside.
Foul is called against Mustangs, number 32, Vosi Profet. That's his first personal foul, the team's third, and we'll pause for a timeout. 30-second timeout called by Olympia. And we'll be right back.
Olympia 14, Wekiva 12. That is the score. 3:46 remaining. Neil Fisher, Mark Barchi, the Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network. And we are live from Mustang Gymnasium. Olympia with possession of the ball in the dark uniforms. Wekiva in their traditional white uniforms. Olympia looking to increase that lead, but they are not going to do it. Traveling.
Mustangs ball.
And Josh Meal, number 23, he was actually called for the traveling, and now you can see why. He has, it's certainly, I can't tell, what exactly the injury is, but it is something having to do with his legs.
So we'll take a quick breath here while we wait for the athletic training team to tend to him.
Yeah, and that's really an unfortunate situation, because obviously he did not turn the ball over because he was playing bad. It was, an injury which caused that turnover, caused him to lose his balance. But nonetheless, it is still traveling, and the refs have to call it. We have 3:28 remaining before halftime. 14-12 is the score. And while we have the break, also want to acknowledge our video man, the man operating the camera. That's Keith Dickerson. He's the director of the broadcast production program at Wekiva High School.
Yeah, often it is one of his students, including Jamaric Hammond, who's obviously playing
yes,
tonight.
Number 3.
Yep. Oh, let's pause here for just a second. Josh Mayo shaking up on the play, able to make his way off with the assistance of our coaching and training staff. And, of course, Mr. Dickerson, normally it's one of his students running the camera, but sometimes if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. And so he is on the camera himself tonight. I also want to thank him for filling in for me last week. Those of you who follow our live streams know they were a little disjointed last week, that because he was using different technology, because a lot of the technology was home with me, and therefore not available to him. And so he was improvising with some unusual equipment setup, so we ended up not going live on the scheduled stream, but going live on a different stream instead. And I appreciate him stepping in at the last second and taking that extra effort. Normally you never see or hear him, but you got to hear him a little bit last week. So I want to extend my thanks to him for covering for me. Nikhil Edouard from Isaiah Bannister to set 4-2.
And that brings us to a tie again, 14-14. 3 minutes remaining before halftime. Olympia continues to move the ball proficiently on the perimeter. Wekiva doing a good job of not letting them drive, though. Another shot taken. That was Dillon. Didn't get the roll. Bounces off the front of the rim. Hammond now. Oh, bad pass. You don't see that much out of Jamaric. And Olympia can't take advantage in terms of scoring in transition, but they do draw the foul.
Foul is called against Mustangs, number 15, Kerry Davis. That's his first personal foul. The team's fourth at the line shooting is Jalen Adams.
And Adams is looking for his first points of the game. And going back to what set up this free throw opportunities, just a bad pass by Jamaric Hammond. as we mentioned, of course, he's the point guard, so his specialty, his forte is making good passes, and certainly not sure what happened on that decision he made there. But to the bigger point, as now Olympia, Wekiva gets possession of the ball, for the most part, a cleanly played game. Only 5 turnovers at the end of the first quarter, and both teams have committed 2 here in the second quarter, 2:30 before halftime. A little flash and dash, but no good.
That was Prophet on the shot, wasn't there?
Yeah, and Prophet just caught up for JV.
Trey not there for Dillon. Gets his own rebound, though. Gets it off to Adams. No Trey there either. Pulled back in by Evans. So 2 consecutive offensive rebounds for the Titans. They'll get 3 offensive possessions out of it. Jumper for Bryant from the top of the key. That's not there. And finally, Kerry Davis comes down with the rebound for the Mustangs.
4 opportunities, 4 shots taken by Olympia. And Davis with the scoop. No good.
Yeah, he almost carried that.
Yeah, I think he probably caught a break there.
Well, he didn't get a shot anyway, so again, maybe that's the cosmic forces convening to assure justice. But Bryan goes to Adams, looking for something, not there. Swing around to the paint.
Stop, hop, and drop for Pierre.
Claudner Pierre picks up his first points of the game for the Titans.
A beautiful move there by Pierre along that baseline. Great patience and deliberation in setting up that shot, and now he is hounding Stokes. Excuse me, actually that was Bryan hounding Stokes. So Prophet with the ball. He drops it off in the corner. That's Stokes, no good, along the baseline. Some dancing on that rebound. Olympia comes up with it, and they get the ball out quickly. And they're not going to set up. They're going to go inside, outside. Dillon unable to get the shot. Wekiva drops the rebound, pulls down the rebound. 40 seconds remaining. Wekiva with possession. And as we come to a close here in the first half, a low-scoring first half, 16-15. The name Prophet, we mentioned number 32, he is out. He is a familiar name if you follow JV. He was called up about a week ago at the start of the 2021 calendar year. And he was one of 3 players brought up from JV by Coach Lubin. Stokes certainly doing everything he can, juking and jiving, and the end result is no basket. Just a few seconds taken off the clock, and Wekiva maintains possession of the ball. So 12.5 seconds remaining. Wekiva trailing 16-15. Wekiva with possession of the ball. They are in the white uniforms and the maroon numbers. And we're going to also get a timeout here. Coach Lubin wants to talk about his options.
30-second timeout called by the Mustangs. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. 12.5 seconds remaining. Mustangs will have the inbound here.
Neil Fisher, Mark Barchi bringing you the action from Mustang Gymnasium. Wekiva looking to break a 3-game losing streak. Inbound to Stokes at the top of the key. See what Coach Lubin drew up as we got 5 seconds. Stokes, right, left, back to the right, throws the ball up short. And there is your buzzer. So a lot of action, a timeout. And the end result is the score remains the same, 16-15. Olympia in the lead at halftime.
That takes us to the midpoint of the ball game. It's a 1-point ball game. Titans will go into the locker room with a 16-15 advantage over Wekiva. So, Neil, So, Neil, I beg your pardon for a second there. I had to change the audio settings so that while we're playing music in the arena, it does not feed back through the headset and through our broadcast audio. But I promised at the beginning of the broadcast that I wanted to talk for just a moment about what happened over the winter break. Of course, I was out on COVID protocol, as you mentioned. I was very fortunate that nothing bad happened to me, and I'm feeling great and fully cleared to return to action. But at the same time, we had some really devastating news from Apopka High School as Coach Earl Graham was lost to COVID-19. He was on the coaching staff at Apopka, of course followed Scott Williams there several years ago, I think 6 years ago, was on the Wekiva coaching staff. I don't know that he was on the opening team, but I believe that he was here for 6 out of 7 of the years that Scott Williams coached here and was a huge part of the legacy of Wekiva's athletics programs. Of course, he is a legend in Central Florida coaching, a huge force in AAU basketball, has at various times coached at Jones, Edgewater, here, of course, at Wekiva, and most recently at Apopka. And I did not have the opportunity to know him as well, of course, as his coaching colleagues did, but as your colleague at the Apopka Chief, John Peary, said on Twitter in tribute to him, even if you didn't know him that well, if you couldn't get along with Earl Graham, you just weren't much of a person.
Yeah, and of course, Mark, you and I, we usually talk at the beginning of each week, kind of to get on the same page, and we talked for several minutes this past Monday about the passing of Coach Graham. And as I told you, and generally speaking, this is something that reporters, for those of you who don't know, I am a member of the Apopka Chief reporting staff, but I also work with Mark here doing play-by-play for Wekiva. And this is something in both positions you really shouldn't get into, but I think this is the exception, the acceptable exception. And, you know, I got to know Coach Graham. I wouldn't say we were best of buddies, but as you mentioned, when Coach Scott Williams was the first coach of Wekiva, he came on board the second year. And because I am a reporter for the Apopka Chief, one of my duties, or at least I feel it's one of my duties, is to come out and watch practice so I get an idea of what's going on with the team. And I got to know Coach Graham fairly well during the 6 years that he was a coach here. And as I mentioned, when you brought it up at the beginning of the game, yes, he was a great coach. You just mentioned that. He had a ability to be able to be a hard ass when it came to coaching, and I understand that, and anybody who's been around sports long enough understands that the great coaches, pardon my French, but they are hard asses when it comes to their players doing things the way they want to. And there's an old saying that the deeper into the postseason you get, the smaller and smaller the difference between winning and losing is, and that's why coaches are so unforgiving when it comes to the players doing the things they want them to do. When they run the plays, they want to run them with, you know, you can't be half an inch off as far as your location or your passing. And Coach Graham was like every other coach, but he had a way of doing it in which the player, it didn't feel like he was being a hard ass. And that goes back to his personality. And you talked about him being an AAU coach. The other thing I always admired about him was, and this is more so at the college and high school, or college and professional levels, you see, because of course they're on TV, there's always that assistant coach who is almost as well known as the head coach. You always see him during the timeouts, or you see him before games talking strategy with the coach. Coach Graham was not that coach. He was the guy who worked behind the scenes, at least at Wekiva and Apopka, and because of what I just explained, how he ran his practices and how he treated his players, he got them ready to be able to go out and play, and in particular when the postseason came. But with that said, no team is ever successful, and those who are not familiar with Coach Williams, like he said, he was the first coach here, and he basically took the program from never playing a game to the state playoffs in 3 seasons. He made them a playoff contender each and every year after that 3rd season. Coach Williams, of course, I believe now has 500 wins. He was also the 97 state champion at Mount Dora. And without a coach like Coach Graham, the guy who works behind the scenes, you don't achieve that kind of success. And
that was something I wanted to echo as well, that I think not just Coach Graham, but in general, freshmen and JV coaches are often the unsung heroes of any quality program. That's and you know, my wife, who's a chorus director, will tell you the same thing, that her ability to get quality content out of her top-level groups is a directly correlated with the quality of the students coming into it out of the middle school and lower level programs.
Yeah,
and
you have to start somewhere.
Right. The freshman basketball games may not be as dazzling to watch, but they are absolutely critical to building up because, I mean, yeah, every once in a while you get a player who, you know, shows up as a freshman and is, you know, already a prodigy and ready to go straight to varsity. But that's the exception, not the rule.
Right.
You don't win championships with just those players. And we see it on our own staff with Coach Hardy and Coach Howard. We see it with Coach Russ on the girls' side, that those are formidable coaches, and Earl Graham was among the best. Again, I just know that this is devastating because Apopka is such a close-knit family. I know there are rivals, but I still consider Coach Williams and his team to be great friends. And
yeah, well, like I said, even though they are a rival, Coach Graham, you know, did spend time here, and I really do I really did think of him as a friend. You know, it's like the big brother, little brother deal. Not so much little brother, but you get 2 brothers, you fight, you go out, you have differences, but at the end, you're all the same family, you're all the same kinfolk, you come from the same people. With that said, though, I just also want to say real quickly, as far as Coach Graham, you know, I started off talking about him as a coach and his ability to be able to get those players to go to varsity, and him being such a big part of Coach Williams' success. But what I will miss even more, and the reason that I just feel so much hurt and pain, is the person he was. I would like to talk a lot more about him, but I just want to say really quickly, he was that kind of person, and this means a lot to me personally. It didn't matter if I'd spoken to him 6 hours before or 6 months before. The next time we met, he would always ask me about what I was talking the previous time. And in particular, I have an 8-year-old niece who has showed interest of following her uncle into journalism and sports journalism, and a 4-year-old nephew. And he never missed asking me since they were born how they were doing. And I will really just miss him. And like I said, as good a coach as he was, it was the person that was even better. And I certainly will miss that about him.
so once again, our condolences and our hearts go out to our Apopka friends and to Coach Lubin, who coached alongside him as an assistant coach at Wekiva. Earl Graham at 72, gone far too soon. We'll be back in just a moment. The Titans have the opening possession of the 3rd period. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, sports information director here at Wekiva High School, joined by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief to take you through the second half of a contest that has been a little frustrating at times, not exactly dazzling from a scoring production perspective until now. Tyree Bryan, 4-3.
And that will put Olympia ahead 19-15. They had a 16-15 lead at the half, and obviously with only 31 points being scored at halftime, this has been a defensive-minded battle. Both these teams have moved the ball very quickly, very efficiently and proficiently, but the shooting percentage, neither team has really been able to get any consistent high-quality shots off. And now, of course, Wekiva dodging the proverbial bullet there. Looked like it was going to be a turnover. Wekiva comes in on a 3-game losing streak. Obviously, they need to snap that. This is a team that is looking to rebound from a 3-win season last season. A 3-victory season last season. And so far, they've experienced a lot of up and downs, but all in all, certainly you could say when they were 6-5, a much more successful season than the previous, and just comparing 6-3 victories. And now they're at a crossroads in the sense of you don't want to get back to what you were doing last season.
Generic Cannon, 4-3.
19-18, 6:45 remaining in the third quarter, and White
Jakari White adds 3 for the Titans.
So White dropping the tray and answering Hammond. Wekiva in the white uniforms with possession, hounded by Olympia. And that's White getting his hands on the ball and knocking it out of bounds. And actually, he's going to commit a foul, I believe.
Jakari White is called on the foul. That's his second, the team's first this half.
And so 22-18 is the score as Hammond for Wekiva brings the ball up. He will hand off to Stokes. Wekiva's starting lineup in the second half, the same as the first. Stokes, Hammond, Edward, Laster, and Bannister Doucette. And stop, pop, and drop for the tray from Laster.
Isaiah Laster, 4-3.
And Wekiva back in the lead, 24-22. 6 minutes in the third quarter. 22-21.
Basket scored by Tyree Bryan.
So Hammond extended right. 5.5 minutes remaining. Wekiva with possession in the white uniforms. A Metro Conference matchup. The site, Mustang Gymnasium on the southeast side of Apopka, Florida. Underneath the trio of stampeding Mustangs and the scoop.
Edward from Hammond.
And Wekiva back in, cuts the lead to 24-23. White with the ball for Olympia. Bryan extended right, kicks the ball over to the left to Charles, who takes the tray and drains the range.
Jakari White from Dennis Warner for 3.
Wekiva looking to answer, and they will not. Bryan, playing defensive back, steps in front, takes the interception, dancing on the sideline, and dropping the deuce, just E.J. James.
James from Bryan picking up 2 for the Titans, and we'll pause for a timeout.
And Coach Lubin immediately jumped up and said, I've seen enough. 5 consecutive points scored by Olympia, bringing the score to 29-23.
Welcome back to Mustang Arena. 4:38 to go here in the third period. Mark Barchi with Neil Fisher. Steal on the inbound. Well, maybe not after all. One good turnover deserves another, and it's right back in Wekiva possession. I don't think that's what Coach Lubin designed during the timeout, but I guess all's well that ends well.
That was Hammond bringing the ball up. He eluded the Olympia full court defense.
Foul called against number 21, Kevin Charles. That's his first personal foul. The team's second. More personnel changes for Wekiva. Just when you figured out which 5 people are on the court, it's different.
Yeah, and if you couldn't see that, felt like I was being called back about 35 years ago, Mark, when I was playing point guard.
Every once in a while, we get to have better than front row seats to the action. We get to be in the middle of it.
Yep.
Kerry Davis, an anemic shot, but second chance basket by Isaiah Bannister-Doucette.
Yeah, Bannister-Doucette doing work under the board, cutting the lead to 29-25. And at the other end, it's Olympia answering with the tray.
Jakari White adds 3 for the Titans. Now that one looked like it was not going to go, and then on the second bounce, it was in.
Just stayed above that cylinder long enough to get the momentum leaning into the inside of the rim.
Hell ball, possession Mustangs.
And almost a steal, not quite
Well,
high enough.
it did turn out to be a steal, but then it's taken right back by Hammond in transition. Stops, pops, nothing there.
And scramble underneath the net, but above the ground, and it goes out of bounds. It will be Olympia possession.
Avia Charles is back into the game for the Mustangs.
Wekiva possession. Hammond, number 3, will inbound. Wekiva retains possession. 3:38 remaining in the third quarter, trailing 32-25. Looking to snap a 3-game losing streak. They are 6-8 on the season. Olympia 10-4. This is Charles, and he tries to dish to the baseline, and a little too much out of the reach of Bannister-Doucette. So, I mentioned in the first half,
Joey Evans into the game for the Titans.
in that first half, both teams played a fairly clean first half in terms of turning the ball over. Only both teams had 7 turnovers in that first half. And not really, I would say, poor, but certainly not up to the same standard for Wekiva here in the second half, as they already have 4. They're going to catch a break here, and Charles in the right place at the right time, seizing that ball. Hammond brings it up. And again, Wekiva looking to cut into the 32-25 lead, and now they get another turnover, their 5th of the period. Transition, no good. Scramble underneath, ball goes out of bounds. And with 2:47, Wekiva will take over possession. Wekiva in the white uniforms. Olympia wearing the teal, greenish, and black uniforms, a double team. Charles dribbles out of it, hands off to Hammond. Hammond's got to get it over, and he does with the pass. Back to Charles, a 2-man game.
Got to say that both the JV and the varsity programs have shown a great deal of finesse with their defensive pressure, but it's not enough this time. Kerry Davis gets the basket and the chance to make it a 3-point play. Foul is called against Titans. Number 11, Jakari White, his 3rd personal foul, and it's the team's 3rd. Davis shooting 1.
And so Davis will go to the line, looking for his 7th point and looking to cut the Olympia lead into. It's now currently 32-27. And no problem. Nice smooth shot, and we are at 32-28. Wekiva remaining in full court defense, but Olympia continues to break it.
Nice pass. Number 2, James on the pass to Kevin Charles.
And another whistle and stoppage with 2:20 remaining in the third quarter.
And I was looking down scoring the previous basket, but it looks like that is going to be a turnover.
Yeah, and again, I mentioned both teams did a fairly, for the most part, were very clean in the first half in terms of turnovers. 7 for both, but Wekiva's turned the ball over 5 times, and we're not even through the third quarter yet. This is James being hounded by Hammond, the 2-point guards. James hands off to White, who pops and does not get the drop off the heel, but a strong rebound doing work.
Joey Evans is fouled on the putback attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2 for the Titans. The foul was called against Mustangs number 15, Kerry Davis. That's his second personal foul, and the team's first this half.
So Evans doing work under the board, and he's rewarded with a pair of free throws. Turns that first free throw into points. Re-extending the lead to 35-28, 2:03 remaining in the third quarter. Second one no good, and Charles picks up the loose ball, and we will come back the other way with Wekiva possession. Hammond spins, keeps the dribble alive. Back to Davis. He's going to go to the right along the paint, dances, and he answers the Olympia with the deuce in the foul.
Kerry Davis, and 1. Foul's called against number 1, Joey Evans, his first, the team's fourth.
And so Davis will head back to the line with 9 points. And he's actually the leading scorer along with Jamerick Hammond for Wekiva right now. Chance to cut the lead to 4 points. 1:48 remaining in the third quarter. And yes, Davis continues to shoot well from the free throw line. He is now 6 of 6. And that's got to turn Coach Lubin's hair gray.
Pierre on the pass from James.
No defense. And Wekiva
easy pass break opportunity there. High pass. Davis manages to pull it down.
1:25 remaining in the third quarter. Hammond calling out to his teammates. Hands off to Davis, who comes up. Has some trouble, and now we got to scramble. That ball went off the back of Davis's leg. He does retrieve it. Retrieves the ball. Hammond will settle the team down as we approach 1 minute in the third quarter. A 6-point lead for Olympia, wearing the blue-greenish uniforms. Over the top pass to Jacatine, and he's going to draw the foul, as you probably saw.
No, that was a traveling call.
Traveling. Okay.
Titans ball.
Okay, so the contact came after the travel.
Checking into the game for Olympia, Jalen Adams. And something's going on with the lights.
Yeah.
If you notice, do not adjust your television. If you notice that your screen got a little darker just now, it's because we lost all the halogen lights in here. We have only the fluorescents.
It actually got darker in Mustang Gymnasium.
Yeah, so we've got...
it was pretty much at exactly the same time that Jacatine traveled.
Well, that must have been it. He couldn't see the ball. We've lost the halogens. Fluorescents are still on. We've got Coach Griffin is on the job, working on that. 0.2 seconds remaining in the third period.
And you mentioned Coach Griffin. That's Nyasha Griffin. Since we do have some time here, of course, she's the assistant athletic director. She's also the softball and weightlifting coach. But she is also a former student athlete, and her name is up against the wall of champions 3 times. She won 3 state champions in weightlifting, and then went up to Georgia, University of Georgia, and came back after earning her bachelor's degree, and now serves not only as an administrative duty for the athletic department, but she is also a math teacher here.
Yeah, and so she is, of course, as you mentioned, an assistant AD, and she is the AD on duty tonight, and trying to come to our rescue here, see if we get the lights. I see one of them popped on.
Okay.
So these are, I'm not sure exactly which technology these. They look like halogen lights. So they do not come back on instantly. You have to wait for them to cool down and warm up.
Yeah, they take about 10, 12 minutes. It's a gradual process. It's not like when you go home and you turn the switch on your light in your living room and it comes on instantly. But I just wanted to give a little bit of a biography out there for Coach Griffin, because she is a Mustang alumni, and certainly someone who this next generation can and should look up to.
Yeah, I think that maybe our only faculty member whose name is on the wall for student achievement, thanks to her weightlifting championship.
Again, three-time state champion in weightlifting. And she is one of actually only two weightlifters to win a state championship in two different weight classes. Also, just give an acknowledgement to Keith Dickerson, the director of our broadcast production program. He is running the camera tonight.
And fortunately, we do still have the fluorescence, so we're not in total darkness. We can see, it's just not optimal brightness for playing basketball at the varsity level.
And this break has come with a 37-31 score. The score was 16-15 at halftime. We have 59 seconds remaining, so a tick under 1 minute.
We got one. We have two. Let's see. Looking for a third one.
And again, thank you for tuning in to the Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network. Of course, we have been broadcasting home games. Mark Barchi, Neil Fisher, along with the students who are part of the broadcast production department at Wekiva for several years. But this year, of course, with the pandemic and attendance being limited, certainly we feel our function, our value has become even more important. Obviously, not as much opportunity. You can't come to the game and watch every game in person. So we hope that our broadcasting and our experience of being able to do that has allowed you, the audience, to be able to continue to keep up with Mustang athletics. And now we do have most of our light back. The Olympia team is doing some calisthenics and stretching, running back and forth from their bench over to the fans. And it looks like we're going to get underway with 59 seconds remaining in the third quarter, and Olympia holding a 37-31 lead at Mustang Gymnasium.
Yeah, that's always been one of my great regrets about Mustang Arena is because we have these halogen lights that take a while to cool off and then start up again. We can't do those Orlando Magic style starting lineup presentations where you black out the arena and turn a spotlight on, because then this would happen. You'd have to wait 5 minutes before you could start the game. All right, we are underway. Under a minute to go.
Olympia in the dark uniforms, a teal, bluish, greenish. Wekiva in the white uniforms. Wekiva just cutting the lead to 37-31. Some great passing by Olympia. And they certainly got a high percentage shot, couldn't convert it. And now Hammond with possession for Wekiva as we have 35 seconds left. Will set up the offense. Wekiva looking to cut into that 6-point lead. Neil Fisher, Mark Archie bringing you the action. That's Charles.
I think he was hoping he was going to draw a foul because that really never had a realistic chance of going in. But he does get his own rebound, and that gives the Mustangs another chance. Hammond can't get the three to drain. Bryan going the other way. 15 seconds left in the period.
Yeah, and Olympia with the opportunity to get that last shot. They dump it in to Evans. He decides no go. 7 seconds remaining. James with the dribble as the key. Right, left. Stops, kicks it back out. 2 seconds. They got to get rid of it. Bryan does the honors. And no. So a lot of action for both teams on their last possession. Once again, no score, and we end up the same as we started with 59 seconds remaining, 37-31, Olympia in the lead.
That takes us to the end of the third quarter. 6-point ball game with 8 minutes left to play. 37-31, the score of the Titans lead going into the final 8 minutes.
And this is the Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network.
Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs and Sports Information Director here at Wekiva High School, joined as always by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, ready to take you through the last 8 minutes. The Titans have the opening possession of the fourth period.
And this is E.J. James with the dribble, drops it off now to White, tries to get some space, nothing doing. He's going to go down to the baseline, gets the ball back. 37-31 is the score. Neither team scored for the last 2 minutes. First shot of the fourth quarter taken by Olympia does not drop. Some swatting. Olympia comes up with the loose ball, the 50-50 ball, and now it goes out of bounds. Will remain with Olympia. Olympia in the dark uniforms, the teal uniforms with the black numbers. Wekiva, the home team. We're playing at Mustang Gymnasium. They have the white uniforms. And so Olympia looking to extend that 6-point lead. No good for Bryan. And Hammond, the point guard, doing some work under the board. Pulls down the rebound, still has possession. He's going to go left, back to the right.
Blocked. Blocked out of bounds by Bryan. And we got a substitution. Checking into the game for Olympia, number 21, Kevin Charles. Mustangs will send in Isaiah Bannister-Duchette and Donovan Stokes and Isaiah Lester.
So both teams having one possession in the fourth quarter. Both teams ending without points. Both possessions ending without points. Hammond over the top inbound to Edward, who drops it down into the corner. That's Laster with the dribble. 1 minute expired in the fourth quarter. Hammond picks up the dribble, calls out the play. Going back to the top of the key with Davis, who's seen a lot of time despite not starting. And now this is certainly the most deliberate that either team has been throughout the course of the game in terms of looking for a shot. Davis now working the ball on the right side, down into the corner with Laster, goes cross court, and not enough cross, intercepted by Bryan, who brings it up. And no good for Charles. And in the scramble afterwards, we got a whistle. 6:22 remaining.
Held ball, possession Mustangs.
Okay.
Checking into the game for the Mustangs, Donovan Stokes.
And the referee ran right in front of my view, so I couldn't see what was going on after
I had to wait.
went up.
Unfortunately, the officials did us a favor here at the score table, and several seconds later gave us a very clear, that was a jump ball signal, because, yeah, that was difficult from this angle to see what was going on under all those bodies. And we're going to pause here again. Mustangs request a timeout, full timeout called by Wekiva. We'll be back in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you, if you are depending on a ride to get home from tonight's game and you haven't already done so, please give them a call. Let them know that we are headed into the last 6 minutes of the ball game, and we would appreciate it if you can help us clear the campus as quickly as possible after the conclusion of tonight's game so that our administrators can sanitize the arena and then get home to their families. Thanks for your cooperation.
And action continues at Mustang Gymnasium.
And that play is going to stop before it starts as Kerry Davis gets tripped up. This is probably going to be a Titan foul.
The score is 37-31 in favor of Olympia. Of course, Mustang Gymnasium is the home team of Wekiva, the Wekiva Mustangs. And this action taking place under what I like to call the triad of stampeding Mustangs, if you look over on the far wall there during the play.
Foul is called against number 21, Kevin Charles. The second personal foul, the team's fifth.
The two teams went back and forth throughout the first half, which ended with Olympia taking a 16-15 lead. They have held the lead throughout this second half, but this is actually the largest lead that Olympia's had at only 6 points. So certainly a very competitive game. Both these teams have had their good points and their bad stretches of good play and their stretches of bad play.
Yeah, and this is not a timeout, I should point out. This is just a wet floor that they're working on cleaning up.
And Jameric Hammond will inbound the ball for Wekiva. And we'll have a miscommunication in the back. And, well, no.
That's not backward. Nobody touched it. That's okay. You get a fresh 10 count.
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't what they meant to do, mind you. But, yeah, the only thing that they end up with is a little egg on their face. No actual turnover committed there.
So Wekiva trying to cut into that 6-point lead. And this is Edward unable to get the 12-foot J. And again, some more strong work under the boards for Olympia. For the most part, these two teams statistically have been even, as White can't get the ball to shoot, but the difference has been on the boards. And Olympia holding an advantage on the boards, and there you see it again. Of course, now we're in a situation where Olympia doesn't necessarily need to score. They just need to match what Wekiva does on its possessions.
Out of bounds. Titans ball. That now officially puts Wekiva at double the number of turnovers as Olympia, 16-8.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned at halftime they only had 5 turnovers. And drain the rain for Bryant.
3-point basket for Tyree Bryant.
And Bryant's tray makes the score 40-31, 5:12 remaining. And now Olympia going to full court defense. And it's going to pay dividends with the turnover and the easy deuce off the bank. Warner completing that turnaround.
Charles to Warner for 2. And, Neil, we've seen this story unfold before with Wekiva running out of gas in the fourth quarter and just not able to close. We'll see if they're able to turn it around here in the last 5 minutes. Game hasn't completely gotten away from them yet, but it is starting to feel that way.
Yeah, certainly with 4:52 an 11-point lead is overcomeable. If there is such a word, you can come over it. But you are at the point where you cannot afford to make any more mistakes.
3 from the corner. It's there. Kerry Davis to Isaiah Laster for 3.
And just as we were talking about, you got to get your game back into gear. They drop a tray, cutting the lead to 42-34. But Jizzy
James adds 3 for the Titans, and will pause for a full timeout. Full timeout called by Olympia.
And Olympia calls the timeout, re-extending the lead to 45-34, 4:28 remaining. This is the Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to join us tomorrow. The Mustangs have a makeup game. They were supposed to play West Orange last week. That game got postponed. JV and Freshman played. Varsity did not. The Varsity is going to play at 3 o'clock tomorrow after the girls, who are already scheduled to play Oak Ridge at 12 and 1:30. So we have a full day of basketball tomorrow. Freshman showcase in the morning, 8, 9, 15, and 10:30. Girls play at 12 and 1:30, and then the boys will be back on the court at 3. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi here with Neil Fisher, ready to take you through the last 4 minutes and 20 seconds as Davis loses the ball to a steal by E.J. James.
Yeah, and Wekiva now in a position they can't afford to make those mistakes. There's White with the tray, and that's a dagger to Wekiva Hart.
James to White for 3.
Great rotation by Olympia. White gets it at the top of the key. Stop, pop, and drop. And a 48-34 lead for Olympia, the largest of the game, as the clock drops under 4 minutes remaining. And another mistake, and an easy deuce for Warner.
James to Warner, 2 more on the steal.
And so what was a 6-point lead about 3 minutes ago on the clock is now all the way up to 16 points, Mark. And 3 turnovers have been a big part of that. We're pretty much at the top of that expansion of the lead. And this is Davis, and he's not going to get the tray, doing some more work under the board. That's James. Kicks it out to Bryant, who stops along with the dance on the baseline. But he gets his own rebound, and we got an injured Wekiva player down. 3:12 remaining. Athletic training staff out tending to the player. And that is Isaiah Laster. Score is 50-34, as I just mentioned. What was a 6-point lead. And for the most part, the teams were trading possessions, trading scoring on their possessions, has grown to 16 in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, and we talked about the consequences of those turnovers and how Wekiva now has more than double. As we're going to say, Isaiah Laster shaken up on the play, making his way off with the assistance of our training and coaching staff. As I started to say a moment ago, now it's up to 19-8. The Titans have been taken very, very good care of the ball in the second half. The Mustangs less so, and that has been a significant contributor to what you've seen so far.
Yeah, and to that point, I mentioned it throughout the second half. Wekiva only had 7 turnovers at halftime. So my interpretation is the Olympia pressure has just worn on them with a cumulative effect. A whistle with 3:08 remaining.
Held ball, possession Mustangs.
And so Wekiva will take over possession of the ball. Wekiva wearing the white uniforms with the maroon numbers. Olympia wearing the teal, bluish, greenish uniforms with the black numbers. Wekiva looking to break a 3-game losing streak. They were 6-5 at the close of the 2020 calendar year. Of course, they got a lot of work to do in a short period of time if they're going to snap that 3-game losing streak. Olympia comes in 10-4, looking to continue to position themselves to make a run into and through the state playoffs. And they will have an opportunity to get that lead even further up as we hit 3 minutes remaining in the game. Neil Fisher, Mark Varsity, and the site is Mustang Gymnasium.
Yeah, and correction on that previous call, we had some confusion at the score table. It was, in fact, Olympia's possession earlier. There was a jump ball that didn't result in an arrow change, so we got that corrected, and now everything is right, and basket from the paint by Brian.
So Brian continues to find that rim. He's up to 12 points, and the lead is now 52-34. 2.5 remaining. Stokes stops, pops, turns around on the turnaround, and will whistle on the rebound.
Foul on the floor is called against Titans, number 21, Kevin Charles. And that will put the Mustangs into bonus. At the line, shooting 1-1 is Donovan Stokes.
So with 2.5 remaining, and Wekiva down by 18.
Strike that, it'll be number 24, Bannister Duchette.
The one advantage Wekiva does have is at the fouls. They've actually only committed 1 foul in the second half compared to 7 for Olympia. And, of course, they missed that free throw. And now White with the dribble at the top of the key as the clock continues to run, 2:20. Story of the game was really, with about 6 minutes remaining, Olympia had a 6-point lead, and they have since extended it to 18. And now, of course, they are in no rush to look for a shot. They're going to take as much time off the clock as possible.
Yeah, they are great friends with the clock at this point, and they want to let it run as much as they can. No shot clock, of course, in high school ball, but to Olympia's credit, they do keep the ball moving, looking for an opportunity, and we're going to get a foul on the inside. Foul is called against number 1, Donovan Stokes, as his first personal foul. And the team's second. At the line, shooting 2, Tyree Bryant. So they are going to say he was going up on that.
And Bryant goes to the line with 12 points. Certainly a big part of this lead, and barring what would be a very miraculous comeback victory.
Wesley Provitt into the game for Wekiva.
And Telerio Pringle also comes in. Mentioned that Wekiva, Coach Lubin called up 3 JV players, and 2 of them just came in. As we get down to the final seconds. And the lead now up to 19 as Hammond brings the ball up. Wekiva will get maybe 4 more possessions. Certainly looks like this game has all been decided, and probably whatever doubt remained was taken away with White's swipe and steal. The 20th turnover of the game for Wekiva with 1:30 left. And for three quarters and 2 minutes, had a very competitive game, a very close game. Wekiva, again, kept the lead within 6 as we get the deuce.
James from Evans for 2.
And talked about a couple possessions ago, I actually talked a couple minutes ago about the pressure having a cumulative effect, Olympia's pressure having a cumulative effect on Wekiva. And you probably think first and foremost on the defensive end, but Olympia has also put great pressure on Wekiva when they have the ball by what you said, Mark, with the constant movement, the quick movement, the efficient and proficient movement of the ball. It does take away something from your players when you're having to constantly move on defense. So Olympia's done a great job of keeping that pressure consistent, and throughout the game, as we are now going to have another turnover on both ends of the court, they've had that pressure down to the last 40 seconds, 55-34. Olympia certainly not looking to take a shot here. They just want to run out the clock. Again, after putting on really a clinic of how to wear a team down by continuing to create pressure throughout a game.
Foul is called against Mustangs, number 23, Telerio Pringle. His first personal foul, the team's 3rd. That was on the floor, so it'll be Titans ball at the Mustang baseline. Checking into the game for Olympia, Jalen Adams.
And we're going to get another stoppage here to wipe off some water on the floor. 22.7 seconds remaining. And the score, if you just tuned in, it is 55-34. Wekiva did play very close, very competitive for about 3 quarters and 2 minutes. And in short, a 6-point lead ballooned to 16 very quickly in about a minute and a half. And now Olympia has continued to expand that lead. They're now up by 21 with the last 22 seconds remaining.
Yeah. That's going to be a foul.
And Jamaric Hammond.
Foul called against Mustangs number 3. Jamaric Hammond, his first personal foul. Team's 4th.
And talked about throughout the game, unfortunately for Wekiva, they will not be able to break their losing streak, which will now become 4. Of course, those 4 losses have been to some very good teams. Edgewater, Forest, Dr. Phillips, and now Olympia. All those teams have at least 10 wins. as the final 5 seconds drop off. Olympia will go up to 11-4, and they'll continue to position themselves to make a run to get into the state playoffs, as well as win if they do get into the state playoffs.
That takes us to the end of the ball game. 55-34 is the final score. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for coming out tonight or for tuning in on YouTube or the NFHS Network to support your Mustang and Titan athletes. Once again, we invite you to come out tomorrow. We've got a huge day of basketball action. We'll start with the freshman showcase in the morning. Our freshman boys team will be on the courts at early in the morning, bright and early. In fact, at 8 a.m. to take on Evans. Then it'll be Evans versus Lake Nona at 9:15. Wekiva versus Lake Nona at 10:30. Then at noon, we'll switch to girls basketball, the Old School Jam Classic, JV at 12 o'clock noon, Varsity at 1:30. And then the Varsity boys will make up their game that was postponed from last week against West Orange. That game is scheduled to start at 3 p.m. We are going to live stream all of that. The freshman showcase will be on NFHS Network only. All of the other games will be on both YouTube and the NFHS Network, provided we find camera. And we hope that we will see you there. Please drive carefully and arrive home safely. For those of you in the arena, for those of you online, please subscribe before you go. Have a great night.